the reality is around the state, not just in Portland, districts are challenged by reduced enrollment, increased costs. Right now, I have been fighting for and with legislators for the best school budget we can put out for our districts. And we have a bill to improve predictability of that funding. And I expect that both a very strong state school fund and our changes to how money is determined for the districts is going to go as soon as it can, and it will support our districts. Summer is a really important targeted investment. So it's not one thing that's going to help our students. We have to do all of it, and I know that school districts are going to figure it out, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to get them the resources that they need.
Let's be honest, federal funding is less than stable at this point. How important is it to make sure that you do have funding there, you don't have to depend on federal money?
Well, right now, we're doing everything we can to let Oregon be Oregon, which is safe, inclusive classrooms, stable funding, targeted investments in things that work. We are doing that all on our own here. We're going to continue to do that. We do need a strong partnership with the federal government. The resources that come from the federal government are very important for our schools and our students, and I would just urge Congress to continue to have those dollars flow to the states. Those are our tax dollars that should be coming back here to support our schools.
Thank you. Virtual from Lucas.
Virtual question from Damien at Newswatch 12. How do you plan to balance the state's budget priorities, such as addressing homelessness, expanding behavioral health services, and K-12 education with the need to adequately fund higher education, ensuring that tuition remains affordable and accessible for all Oregonians?
There are a lot of priorities for our state, but what I can say now with the legislature, and if the legislators would like to add to this, we are aligned on the top priorities. We are all going to work together to find all the dollars possible to fund the services we need for folks who are living outside, for folks who need mental health and addiction treatment, for our schools. And I know there's a lot of work to do yet before the budgets are finalized, but I can tell Oregonians we're all working together to make the right decisions for Oregon. Did anybody want to say anything on the budget? No? Our budget chair? You want to, no.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I just want to focus on education. I know there is a lot of turmoil with uncertainty in the federal government, right? So just so all of you know, the state of Oregon relies on over $1.5 billion from the federal government, which is real money for real services for our children. We're talking about services and resources for students with disabilities, child nutrition, and the list goes on and on. So we're, like the governor mentioned, we're going to continue to do the Oregon way, continue to prioritize what's important to us, which is education, housing, addressing the homelessness issue, and we're doing that in partnership with every single person in the Capitol.
Speaking of the state-federal partnership and need, we recently met with Congressman Bence. What did he have to say about being a lone Republican and some of these issues he brought up as far as stable federal funding, the market MIA?
What? And thank you for bringing that up. I think you can understand I won't go into the details of our conversations, but my takeaway with Congressman Bence is we've worked together in the legislature. He cares about this state. He knows he has a unique role as the sole Republican in our delegation to be a voice for our state, and I know he's going to do that.
We have another virtual question, but it's not education related, so we will defer to
Any more education questions?
Yeah, let's stick with education.
Well, this is education and everything related. I guess it's about the budget. Governor, last week you said you were concerned that legislators were being too frugal as far as the handouts and holding money back. Do you still feel that? Have your views about what might happen with the economy and the budget, have they changed at all in the past week since everything seems to be topsy-turvy?
Well, we are living in interesting times. I would agree with that. I'm not sure I used the word frugal. I did not. I do think we have to balance the needs of the state and our desire to be overly cautious because of what's happening at the federal level. I urge legislators to focus on what we need to do here, make really good choices. I do worry about holding back too much money because when we don't invest in our state, that has consequences too. We are going to be judging the situation with the federal government for months. We're not going to have everything solved in June. So I'm urging for the best budget we can do with the dollars we have, not to be overly cautious, But understand, we might have to make adjustments if things change at the federal level. And right now, we know what we have. We're obviously waiting for the May forecast, and that will determine where we, where they go across the street to finish the budget.
Chronic absenteeism also a big issue in our schools right now. How can we make sure that kids are also going to these summer programs and staying in these summer programs?
Right. Well, there's a lot of work going on right now in our schools to make sure students are showing up. As you recall, we made phone calls at the beginning of the school year, calling up parents and saying, hey, thank you for getting your kid to school. How are you doing it? Let's get other kids there, because you can't learn if you're not in the seats. What summer shows us is when students are learning and feel engaged and really feel successful, and that's what summer learning programs are good at, that they show up in school at higher numbers. So summer will help with our attendance issues, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to invest in it as well.
I guess I got chosen again. I remember my days as a student, and I remember the reason why I would go to school was because school was fun. School was a learning environment, and I had support systems around it that made it for school to be accessible. But the reality is there is also bigger issues outside of the education world. You're talking about housing, you're talking about affordability of food, you're talking about transportation. In my district, I know for a fact there's a lot of students and families that are couch surfing because they cannot afford to live where they are. But I know we're doing tremendous work right now to address those same issues of prioritizing our families, prioritizing our children, understanding that this is going to be a long road ahead of us. And there's a lot of work that we need to do in collective. And that includes our school districts and our Department of Education, because they are the foundation of making sure that our children and their families receive the supports that they need, and we're inching closer and closer to hopefully addressing those issues as we go by.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for the question. So Senate Bill 141 is the bill that we're working on in the legislature regarding, and it's not just accountability for ODE, it's not accountability for our schools, it's a shared accountability across all of our districts in partnership with the Oregon Department of Education. We know that our superintendents, when we talked about accountability, they were like, we're not afraid of that. Like, we're ready. We're going to be a partner in this. But we know that we have to do this together. And we're excited about the opportunities that when we look at the funding for giving strong funding for our schools and providing summer learning opportunities and partnered with the accountability measure, we know that we can set up our system for success.
And I do want to thank the legislators in particular, the way they added to the bills around summer programming with the additional reporting and some of the requirements. I think it's just tightening up what we know works. And I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for that because people want to show that when they do it right, you have students like Sophia learning and it works. And so we want to be able to track that and tell people.
You recently announced a partnership with Nvidia, $10 million CHIP Act money to get AI in schools and train higher education ambassadors, Nvidia ambassadors. Can you tell me a little bit about the, I guess, inception point of this, where it's coming from, and what our audience can expect related to AI and education?
Yeah. Just broadly speaking, we know how important the semiconductor and the advanced manufacturing industry here in Oregon is to our economy. We are the Silicon Forest. We know how to do it here, and we will continue to grow, particularly in the research and development area. And we know Nvidia, who the founder of Nvidia does have connections with Oregon State alums, he and his wife. They really love Oregon. So this memorandum of understanding says we're going to work together to capitalize on the work Nvidia has been doing, and they have this ambassador program, which provides a toolkit for educational institutions, both community colleges and higher ed, as well as K through 12, to introduce technology jobs to students, particularly in the artificial intelligence arena. We want to capitalize on that, and so it's a good framework to work with Nvidia, and I'm very appreciative of that. And we have $10 million that we're able to put into this effort because of the Oregon CHIPS Act, and shout out to Senator Solomon, who worked on that bill. And last year, there were changes made to say we could use some unused dollars to put into educational opportunities, and that's what we're doing. And so I think it's a win-win for everyone. This is the future. AI is there to stay, and we need to create new pathways for students to think about those careers, no matter where they are, and NVIDIA will be a good partner in that.
Virtual, it's not education related. Education related. Okay, virtual question from Ben Bachton at Lookout Eugene. Have you seen the 30-day plan for the Oregon State Hospital yet? And if so, what is the most important part?
Thank you for the question, Ben. We are still working on the Oregon State Hospital plan. That doesn't mean things are standing still waiting for the plan. We are reviewing protocols to make sure we can keep every patient safe, and we're continuing to work with the federal government who's doing their reviews of the state hospital. We'll have more to share in a couple weeks.
Education and budget related, the inflation hitting everybody, what would you want to say to the citizens of Oregon about how hard it is, or if it's harder to stretch these dollars and where you're at?
Well, I've heard it from folks directly. I get emails. I hear it when I'm out in the community. It's getting very difficult, and is difficult for a lot of families to make ends meet. One of the driving costs there is the cost of housing, and you all know that I've been focused on more housing will reduce the cost of housing, so very focused on that. But I think the other message I would share is legislators also get it. We've been talking about affordability, whether it's your utility bill, whether it's your rent, whether it's your healthcare costs. We are all committed to making sure that we are protecting Oregonians from increased costs, even when things are tough. And I think we'll have some good things to show in this session that says we're protecting consumers, we're protecting families from increased costs, and we have to do more of that because, frankly, the taxes that are coming through the new tariffs are going to impact consumer prices, and so we're going to have to continue to work harder because we don't have a good partner in the federal government right now.
All right, time for one more, if you want it. All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Celebrate summer. We appreciate it.
I was like, you didn't have something. Oh, yeah, that's okay.
I really appreciate you both. Thank you. Really, I was like, big group.
Thank you very much. And
And just